The next morning, Telma's throat was so swollen she could barely swallow water. She wore a Hermes scarf to cover the bruises, but they were too dark to hide completely. She told the children she was sick and would not be going to their exclusive private academy that Friday. Then she called her brother in Dubai, telling him was the hardest thing she had ever done. The shame was overwhelming, but Telma spoke the truth. She told him everything, about the years of abuse, about the life she had been living behind the gates of their $50 million estate, about nearly being strangled to death in the kitchen of their mansion. Her brother was silent for a long moment, then he said he was flying in to get her. Telma didn't tell anyone else, not Edmund's business partners, not the women in her exclusive social circle, not her closest friends from the yacht club. She simply started packing. She packed her children's designer clothes and important documents, passports, birth certificates, banking information. She withdrew money from the one account Edmund allowed her to access, a fraction of their massive wealth. She moved carefully, quietly, waiting for her brother to arrive. On Saturday afternoon, while Edmund was at a 3-day international business conference in Singapore with other billionaire investors, Telma's brother arrived in a chartered private jet with his wife. They loaded the Louis Vuitton luggage into the waiting Bentley quickly. Telma left her 10-carat diamond wedding ring on the Italian marble nightstand in their master suite. She left no note. She took her children's hands and walked out of the sprawling Mediterranean-style mansion that had been her golden cage for so many years. When Edmund's private jet touched down and he returned to the estate that evening, he found the house empty except for the staff, who claimed they knew nothing. He called Telma's phone immediately. She picked on the third ring. He asked where she was, and she told him calmly that she had left the marriage. She said she was not coming back. Edmund exploded. His voice was loud even through the phone. He called her names. He told her she was nothing without him, that she was just a poor girl from a middle-class family before he made her into somebody. He reminded her of the life he gave her, the mansions, the private jets, the luxury cars, the status. Then he switched tactics. He said she could leave if she wanted to be stupid and throw away everything, but she had to bring his heirs back. The children belonged to him. She had no right to take them. He reminded her that he had an army of the most expensive lawyers in the world on retainer. Before Telma could respond, her brother snatched the phone from her hand. He shouted at Edmund. He told him he was a wicked man who used his money to abuse people. He said he should have exposed him years ago for what he did to his sister. He promised that if Edmund came near Telma or the children, billionaire or not, he would deal with him personally. Edmund shouted back, making threats of his own. He said he would destroy her brother financially. He said he had connections in every major corporation and government. He said he could make one phone call and ruin her entire family. The call ended with both men breathing hard and Telma sitting in shocked silence in her brother's penthouse. That Monday morning, when Edmund attended the executive board meeting at Sterling Global Enterprises, his billion-dollar conglomerate, people immediately noticed something was different. Several board members and business associates asked about Telma and the children, wondering why the family hadn't attended the annual charity gala that weekend, an event Telma had chaired for years. Edmund smiled his practiced billionaire smile and said they were sick. He said they needed rest. Some of the executives' wives offered to visit Telma at the estate. Edmund refused politely. He insisted that visitors would disrupt their rest. He said Telma would appreciate their concern but needed privacy to recover. Telma had already switched off her phone. She knew people would try to reach her. She knew questions would come from the foundation she ran, from the private school's parent committee, from society journalists, from friends in their elite social circle. So she made herself completely unreachable. The following week, Telma and the children were still absent from all the usual elite gatherings, the country club tennis matches, the gallery openings, the fundraising dinners. More people asked questions. Edmund repeated the same story. They were still recovering. They needed more time, but doubt was beginning to show on people's faces. It was unusual for the wife of billionaire business magnate Edmund Sterling to miss multiple high-profile events without anyone being able to speak with her directly. By the third week, Edmund knew he needed a better explanation. During a carefully orchestrated interview with Forbes magazine, he casually mentioned that Telma and the children had relocated to their estate in the French Riviera. He said they would be staying there indefinitely for the children's international education and for Telma's health. He said the European lifestyle would be good for the family. He smiled for the cameras and asked that the media respect their privacy during this transition. The announcement caused shock waves throughout the global elite community. People were confused. Why would a billionaire's wife suddenly relocate to Europe with the children for years? Why were close friends not informed? Why was the family separated? Why was everything so secretive? But Edmund's influence was powerful. People sensed they should not push further. Still, the gossip started immediately. At exclusive clubs in Manhattan, in first-class airport lounges, at private island resorts, people speculated about what really happened to the Sterling family. Some whispered about affairs, others suggested financial problems, though that seemed impossible given Edmund's net worth. A few wondered if Telma had finally had enough of her husband's controlling behavior, which some had noticed over the years but never mentioned. Meanwhile, in Dubai, Telma was trying to adjust to her new life in her brother's luxury high-rise apartment. She enrolled the children in an international school under her maiden name, using her brother's address. She stayed indoors most of the time. She was afraid to go out, afraid someone from their global social circle would recognize her. Their faces had been in too many magazines, attended too many high-profile events. Edmund kept calling from different numbers and sending threatening messages through intermediaries. He said he would find her. He said he would take his children back. They were his heirs, his legacy. He said she had humiliated him in front of the business world and would pay dearly for it. He said his team of lawyers, partners at the most powerful firms in the world, were already working on custody papers. He said he would prove she was mentally unstable and unfit. Money was no object in getting his children back. But Telma noticed something crucial. Despite all his threats, despite all his resources, despite having access to private investigators and unlimited funds, Edmund never actually showed up. He never flew to Dubai looking for her. He never sent anyone to physically retrieve the children. Telma realized why. His reputation was everything to him. His image as the brilliant, successful, family-oriented billionaire was more important than his wife or even his children. His entire empire was built on his personal brand, the self-made success story, the devoted family man, the philanthropist, the role model for aspiring entrepreneurs. If he created too much drama, if he involved international authorities or caused a public scandal, people would ask questions. Journalists would dig deeper. His carefully constructed image would crack. His board of directors would question his stability and judgment. His shareholders might lose confidence. His business deals could fall apart. Politicians who took his donations would distance themselves. So he stayed in California, protecting his billion-dollar empire while threatening Telma from a distance, using lawyers and money instead of action. This gave Telma some peace. She knew he could not really touch her without risking everything he valued more than her. His pride and his public image would not allow him to risk his status as one of the world's most admired billionaires. So she ignored his calls and deleted his messages. Telma wanted to expose him. Every day, the anger burned in her chest. She wanted to tell the world what kind of man Edmund Sterling really was, what happened behind the gates of that $50 million estate, behind the private jets and the charity galas. She had evidence, photos of bruises, medical records, threatening text messages. She could go to the media. Her story would be international news. But she held back because of the children. She did not want them to know how truly evil their father was. She did not want to hurt them by destroying their father's image publicly, by turning their family drama into tabloid headlines. She convinced herself she was protecting them by staying silent. Then one afternoon, Telma overheard her daughter Arya talking to her brother Nathan in their room. Arya, only 12 years old, said she was happy they left California. She said she was tired of being afraid all the time, tired of walking on eggshells in that big house. She said she hated how their father treated their mother, how he smiled for cameras and then yelled behind closed doors. She said she was glad they didn't have to pretend anymore that their family was perfect. Nathan, 14, agreed. He said he used to have nightmares about their father hurting their mother. He said he hated going to those fancy events and pretending everything was fine. He said he was relieved they escaped, even if it meant leaving behind the mansion and the cars and the private school with his friends. Telma stood outside their door with tears running down her face, her hand pressed against the wall for support. Her children had seen everything. They had heard everything. They were not blind. She thought she had been protecting them by staying all those years, enduring the abuse so they could have stability and wealth. But she had only been teaching them that abuse was normal, that money was worth more than safety, that image was more important than truth. She thought keeping silent now would shield them from pain, but they already knew the truth. They had lived it. If this story is moving you, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us share these important stories with more people who need to hear them. That night, Telma made a decision. She would speak up not just for herself, but for every woman in high society thinking her billionaire husband's marriage was perfect. For every woman hiding bruises under designer clothes and expensive makeup. For every woman trapped in an abusive marriage by wealth and status. For every woman who thought she had to stay because of the money, the lifestyle, the social position, because of what people would say. For every woman who believed that wealth meant safety, that a billionaire couldn't be an abuser. She would tell her story. She would expose Edmund Sterling for who he really was behind the billions. Drop a comment below if you think Telma made the right decision. Your voice matters, and we read every single comment. And if you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please know that no amount of money or status is worth your life. Wealth doesn't protect you from abuse, sometimes it just hides it better. There is help available, and you deserve to be safe.